हेलो हेलो presenters, may I audible to you? Please let me know. थोड़ा दूर जाना पड़ेगा सर. हेलो. It's fine.
Yeah, now your voice is fine, ma'am.
जो बोल रहे हैं वो आवाज आपकी वैसे भी आ रही है और स्पीकर के थ्रू भी आ रही है।
तो हमें बहुत माइल्ड उसमें जाएगा.
हेडफोन नहीं कर सकते।
तो बंद है ना. हाँ, ये हमारी वॉइस एंड देन उसकी वॉइस. हेलो. दोनों साथ में. Am I audible? नहीं इसे बोलो सब बोलो. हेलो. वॉइस क्यों नहीं आ रही? हेलो. हेलो. जाना पड़ेगा. वो है ना हमारा
A very good afternoon, everyone.
कहीं पर वहाँ आवाज नहीं आ रही.
A very good afternoon.
कैसे करो पावर बैंक के सामने रख दो ताकि स्लिप ना हो।
very good afternoon, everyone.
ऐसे ही बोले
आप बोल के बोलो
वॉइस जानी चाहिए तो तो आपको यहाँ पे ध्यान देना है वो वहाँ पर ऑन है आप एक बार बोलो
A very good afternoon, everyone.
इंक्वायर करो
Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. A very good afternoon, everyone. I, Akshita Kanpal, BA second year student on behalf of Bhavan Leelavati Munshi College of Education, in collaboration with Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, would like to welcome you all for the second session of One-Day National Conference, NEP 2020, an amalgamation of tradition and modernity. Along with that, I would like to wish all our teachers, professors, a very happy Teachers' Day. Thank you so much for making us what we are today. Since this session will be broadcasted live on YouTube, so all of you are requested to please switch off your phones to avoid any sort of disturbance and distraction during the session. John Dewey once said, "Education is not preparation for life; it's life in itself." And such an inspiring quote, I would like to welcome our dignitaries for today's session, Professor Manisha Dabas, Aditi Mahavidyalaya, University of Delhi, Principal Gitika Datta, BLMCE, our co-chairperson, Dr. Poonam Sharma and Dr. Bhageshwari Sharma, Assistant Professor, BLMCE, research scholars, academicians, and across the nation, and my dear fellow mates. Before starting the session, I would like to shed light on the journey of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and Bhavan Leelavati Munshi College of Education. Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, an internationally reputed institution dedicated to the promotion of education and Indian culture, is a charitable public trust founded by Kulpati Dr. Kanhaiya Lal Maneklal Munshi on November 7, 1938. It is today an all-Indian intellectual, cultural, and educational institution dedicated to twin task of interpreting the age-old yet timeless message of our heritage by sticking to our cultural roots, along with encouraging its students to reach the sky-high achievements by panning our wings and opening to the new advancement every day. And Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and Bhavan Leelavati Munshi College of Education is one of that enrichment in the galaxy of institutions under Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. It was established in 2016 with the recognition of NCTE and is affiliated with Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University and SCRT Delhi. Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, being a charitable institution and genuinely serving for the cause of education, established this college in order to cater to the ever-expanding requirements of quality teachers and educators who can bring about the transformative change in the lives and personalities of their students. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Bhageshwari Sharma, Assistant Professor, BLMCE, for introducing our chairperson for today's technical session 2 of One-Day National Conference on NEP 2020, an amalgamation of tradition and modernity.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm feeling privileged to introduce our esteemed chairperson for this session, Professor Manisha Dabas, who has been contributing to the field of teacher education for more than 20 years. She is currently working as a professor of education at Aditi Mahavidyalaya, University of Delhi. Ma'am had completed her BSc and MSc in physics from the prestigious Hindu College, University of Delhi, and her B.Ed, M.Ed, M.Phil, and PhD from CIE, Department of Education, University of Delhi. Her areas of specialization are science education, environment education, elementary education, and media in education. She has supervised several MPhil and PhD researchers and has mentored many significant teacher fellowship programs. Ma'am's publication profile is also very vast. She has authored several books and written papers in journals and magazines. She has also developed e-content for Swayam Prabha. Ma'am has also undertaken several major and minor projects and has received several awards and honors. She was honored with the Best Teacher Award under the category of College Lecturer Award given by Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi in the year 2018. Her contribution to the field of education is exemplary. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Our BLMC family is privileged to have you here with us today. I would now like to take the opportunity to call our principal, Dr. Vitrika Datta, BLMCE, for doing the felicitation of our today's chairperson with the planner and Bhavan publication to show our gratitude to her. Rules help us and guide action toward the desired result. Therefore, I request our chairperson to introduce us with its rule for the current session.
Thank you for elaborate introduction. And I must congratulate, ELMCOE for organizing this one-day conference in collaboration with IIES Shimla. And the theme of the conference itself, amalgamation of tradition and modernity, NEP 2020. The way it is organized in a blended mode is a step towards this amalgamation. That we are doing it Facebook Live, we are also doing it on, physical mode here in this. So before going further in this, I must, say that kudos to the principal, Dr. Nitika Datta, and the entire team for organizing it. And we understand that we are still, handling with technical glitches. This is all part of our lives because we want to reach to the maximum. And I think this is also one of the themes of NEP 2020 that we have to reach, and especially the higher education. We feel that policy advocates that by the year 2035, higher education should reach to every student in the country. So that is the target 2035. And all such conferences, their results and their proceedings is a step forward in that direction. So my best wishes to all prospective teachers who are listening to this conference, my fellow colleagues and my friends. Going to the rule, as we are running late, what is discussed with Dr. Poonam Sharma and Dr. Bhageshwari Sharma, the co-coordinators of the session. We will be giving 10 minutes for the presentation, and at 8 minutes there will be a buzzer round. And after all the presentations are over, after all 5 presentations, there will be question answer session. So I request audience to keep their questions ready. We will have a discussion at the end of after all the 5 presentations, and in the end we will have a concluding remark. So thank you all of you, and all the best to the paper presenters.
Now is the time to begin our live session. Respected Honorable Chairperson, Professor Manisha Dabas, Aditya Mahavidyalaya, University of Delhi. With your permission, we would like to begin our session. Thank you. And now I request Dr. Poonam Sharma, Assistant Professor, BLLCE, take the session forward.
Thank you so much, Akshita. Conferences are networking opportunities. They are about meeting people as much as they are about learning the latest developments and advancements. Just like NEP 2020, which was approved by Union Cabinet of India on 29 July 2020, which outlines the vision of new education system of India. The policy aims to initiate several systemic reforms to encourage bright and talented young minds to take up the teaching profession at the highest levels. Now, in this technical session, presenters from esteemed university will talk about NEP 2020. They are majorly focuses on multidisciplinary approaches, challenges which are going to be faced, and how digital education could take the new education system to the new heights. Now, with your permission, ma'am, will you please allow me to follow the presenters? Thank you so much. So I take the opportunity to call Dr. Preeti Srivastava and Ms. Ankita Dhakre from Kamal Institute of Higher Education and Advanced Technology to present their paper titled NEP 2020 on Teacher Education. I request Dr. Preeti Srivastava. Am I audible to you? And Ankita, I can see you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You are
Ma'am, kindly let me.
turn on your camera. You are requested to please turn on your camera. Yes. You will be.
Ma'am, yeah.
Yes, yes, please.
Ma'am, kindly make me host so that I can share my screen.
Okay. You are not able to.
Ma'am, in this, only host can share the screen.
Okay, sir has made this. Okay, now I have to please give me 1 minute, please. Let me fix it.
Sure, ma'am.
Are you able to share now? You may please begin.
Good afternoon, respected chairperson and one and all present here. My name is Ankita and my mentor is Dr. Preeti Srivastava. Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
So today I'm going to share my paper presentation on the topic NEP 2020 on teacher education and vocational education. Here I start with the abstract part. National Education Policy 2020 is the first education policy of 21st century and aims to address the many growing developmental imperatives of our country. The NEP is visionary, practical, progressive, and comprehensive. The teacher education is truly vital in creating the team of teachers that will shape the next generation. Vocational education is any type of training, usually in the form of courses and hands-on instructional lessons that teaches students the specialized skills required to perform a specific job. Here, we performed a survey among graduates, postgraduates, teachers, and pupil teachers, and that we collected the data in the form of questionnaire, which was analyzed. Here's the introduction, which says that education is fundamental for achieving full human potential, developmental and equitable society, and promoting national development. It has a range from early childhood to higher education, professional education to vocational education, and teacher training to professional education. So the teacher must be at the center of the fundamental reforms in the education system. The new education policy must help reestablish teachers at all the levels as the most respected and essential members of our society, because they truly shape our next generation of citizens. Here is the objective which we took during our paper completion, which is to study the perspective of postgraduates, graduates, teachers, and pupil teachers towards teacher education and vocational education. Here, this is the methodology which we followed. So for this, the sample data was collected from graduates, postgraduates, pupil teachers, and teacher educators, and the data was collected in the form of questionnaire. Here we emphasized on the collection of true perspective of subjects without any influence. So the data was collected through multimedia survey administration software distributed among participants, and the responses were collected and were analyzed, and the pie charts were generated. Here, this is the data analysis part, which shows the perspective of participants towards transforming learning process. Here, these are the pie charts, which are as follows. Here, the data shows that 94.2% of the total participants completely agree that teachers must be grounded in Indian values, languages, knowledge, ethos, and traditions. So the same can be imparted to the students. And here, about 5.8% people express their views as neutral. And the next, we have 79.6% people in the favor that all teacher education programs must be conducted within composite multidisciplinary institutions. Here, by multidisciplinary institutions, I mean this is unique educational approach that allows the students to learn and explore distinct subjects or curriculum from various disciplines. And here, 16.5% people express their views as neutral, and rest others express their views as disagree. Moving further, we have 58.3% people who says that only educationally sound, multidisciplinary and integrated teacher education programs shall be made available. And next we have, which says that 78.6% people completely agree that a stringent action must be taken against substandard and dysfunctional teacher education institutions that do not meet basic educational criteria. And in this case, we have 16.5% people who express their views as neutral. Next, we have that all stand-alone teacher education institutions must be converted to multidisciplinary institutions, where 55.3% participants agree and 39.8% people gave their views as neutral. Next we have where 47.6% people express their views as agree, which says that the 4-year integrated B.Ed offered by multidisciplinary higher education institutions should become the minimal degree qualification for school teachers as per NEP 2020. And here also we have 37.9% people who express their views as neutral. Here the people might have given their views as neutral maybe because they might not be aware about the reforms of NEP 2020, or they might not have understood the question properly. Moving further, we have 76.7% people who says that the admission to pre-service teacher programs must follow standardized entrance test conducted by NTA. And here we can see that the 14.6% people express their views as neutral and 8.7% people express their views as disagree. Moving further, we have the use of technology platforms such as Swayam, Diksha for online training of teachers should be encouraged. In this case, we got 88.3% people in the favor and 9.7% people express their views as neutral. Moving further, we have 83.5% people who recommends the integration of vocational education programs into mainstream education in all education institutions in a phased manner. In this case, also 16.5% people express their views as neutral. Next, we have 84.5% people who says that the vocational exposure at early ages in middle and secondary school and quality vocational education in higher education should be promoted. Moving further, we have 83.5% people who strongly agree that the Lok Vidya, that is important vocational knowledge developed in India, must be made accessible to students through integration into vocational education courses. Here, as the name suggests, with Lok Vidya in place, students will get a chance to learn important vocational knowledge developed in India from the experts. In the next question, we asked people that which B.Ed program should be considered. In this case, we got almost 50% people who says that the 2-year B.Ed program should be provided. And also 31.1% people says that 4-year integrated B.Ed program is better. And also 19.4% people says want 1-year B.Ed program should be considered. Now moving further to the conclusion part, which is drawn out mainly on the basis of 12 parameters, which I just discussed, which are related to teacher education and vocational education with respect to NEP 2020. From the survey, it was found that 94.2% of the people believe that after the implementation of NEP, teachers must be grounded in Indian values, language, knowledge, ethos, and traditions, so the same can be imparted to the students. In this case, even not a single person disagrees. Therefore, it should be promoted with greater emphasis so the best of the results can be obtained. In the next case, it was found that 88.3% of the total responses agreed and 9.7% expressed their views as neutral and only 2% disagreed. So the majority believe that the use of technology platforms such as Swayam, Diksha for online training of teachers should be encouraged, as online teaching platforms provide with the right interface to connect with learners and distribute their knowledge. Therefore, online teaching platforms help us expand your reach and achieve remarkable growth. These are some of the references which I used in my paper. And this is all from my side. Thank you all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ankita Thakre. Thank you so much. You will be you are requested to be here because there will be a question and answer round. So you are please requested to be here.
Okay, ma'am.
Now I take opportunity to call Mr. Mazaz M. Siddiqui, PhD scholar at EU Educational Studies like DES, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. And he is going to present his paper titled Multidisciplinary Approach in Teacher Education Program to Enhance the Quality Education. I request Mr. Mazaz M. Siddiqui to please present. Mr. Majaz is here. Okay, I am taking this further. Now I request Dr. J. Johnshi Priya and Mr. J. Ashok. They both are from Meston College of Education, Roya Betha, Chennai. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
He is going to present his paper on NEP 2020 and research, challenges and initiatives. Now you are requested to please turn on your camera. I can see it's turned on already. You may please start.
Yes, ma'am. Can everyone see me? Can see my presentation? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, sir. We can.
No, ma'am. Thank you so much. So first of all, good evening to every person present here. So this is my presentation on the topic of NEP 2020 and research, challenges and initiatives. So the problem statement is that in this education policy, there are severely fragmented higher education ecosystem in this current education system that is prior to new education policy of 2020. So that there is a lesser emphasis on research at most universities and colleges, and there is a lack of competitive peer-reviewed research fundings across the disciplines. And also there is a rigid separation of disciplines as we proceed further and further towards the research from UG to PG with early specialization and streaming of students into narrow areas of their pedagogical studies. So the aim of my study is to identify the challenges and the problems faced in this current education system and analyze the initiatives made in the field of research in higher education through National Education Policy, New Education Policy 2020. So the theories I have studied and consulted are the National Education Policy of India and some of the research articles from holistic and multidisciplinary approaches in the field of education and in the national policy of education. So in this paper, I have used a method of comparative method to compare the current education system with the initiatives of the New Education Policy 2020 in higher education through the help of New Education Policy 2020. So the main research question is that, what is the need for giving importance to the field of research? As we all know that research plays a vital part in the growth of the country and in the technological advancement and in the knowledge development of the person or the student that is involved in them. So the second question I pose is, why is the field of research is severely fragmented in this current education system? It can be summed up to the lack of funding and due to the poor mentorship that can be represented, and it can be due to several other factors that may cause a lack of interest in the field of research. So who will set the standard for multidisciplinary education across India in this new education policy? And the ways to develop the research in higher education in India will be discussed in this presentation. So the key finding is that students actively engage in the practical side of the learning and as a result, further improve their employability. So instead of bookish knowledge, when we approach to a multidisciplinary approach or a holistic approach, students find themselves interesting in the studying process and they can easily impart themselves in the research process when they proceed to higher education. And it provides a greater mobility to students in India who may wish and study, transfer their credits that is provided by ABC to carry out the research at institutions abroad and vice versa. So this is a academic bank of credit that is provided in the new education policy system that can be acquired by completing online courses at Swayam, in which it can be used to proceed to get a good job in the country, or it can be transferred to abroad to study and or to get a job abroad. And it helps to develop a culture of research in the country through suitable incentives for and recognition of outstanding researchers. So the implication of my study is that the new education policy sets a NAC or National Assessment Center called as PARA, or it can be abbreviated as Performance Assessment, Review and Analysis for Knowledge for Holistic Development, to set a standard for school education system to make the skill set for the 21st century and make the students ready for it. So it plans the basis for higher education when the students from the school proceed to the next improvement in their education as they move to UG and PG. So it plays a vital role in setting a standard for school education, and also it provides some information regarding the researches done in their field, and establishing an academic bank of credit that can be used for further studies and also for job opportunities, and revamping degree courses by including a year entirely for research for a 3-year courses for UG. If a person has completed a UG in 3-year courses without any research papers, the PG can be done for 1 year, can be entirely provided for the research purposes, and 1 year can be provided for PG purposes, and also integrated courses are available, and the MPhil courses are entirely cut short. And also establishing National Research Foundation to provide funds and also to check for the peer reviews and also accommodate for the best research done by the person. So the limitations of my study is that while extending the courses from 3 years to 4 or 5 years may lead to discontinuation or dropouts due to several reasons, mainly due to family situations or economical background and other social causes. And suddenly shifting to multidisciplinary approach or holistic approach from this education system may take some time for the students to adapt. And these policies are yet to be implemented, and it will be done before 2030, thus allowing only assumptions about the practicality about these policies alone, and we can just assume that it will be working. So the scope of future studies is that to increase the student enrollment in all education institutions, mainly in higher education, to impart research facility by 2030, and it provides a base for future research to study the impact of NEP and after the implementation of it. And it transforms the education system and research quality to meet the standard and the challenges of the 21st century by implementing a holistic approaches and also by providing major opportunities for internalization of the research facilities in India. So the claims and conclusions that I made is NEP 2020 policy envisions a comprehensive approach to transform the quality and quantities of researches that are made in India. It grows and facilitates research at academic institutions, particularly at universities and colleges through NRF, called as the National Research Foundation. And the research collaboration and student exchanges between Indian institutions and global institutions will be promoted through special efforts. So these are the key references that I have mentioned for this thesis. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. J. Ashok.
Thank you.
You will get the suggestions from the chairperson. You are requested to be here, please.
Okay, ma'am.
Now I take the opportunity to call Ms. Vandana Sharma, Assistant Professor, Faculty of Education, Banasthali Vidyapeeth, Rajasthan, to present her paper on New Education Policy 2020, Teacher Education and Digital Education. May I request you to please begin your presentation? Vandana Sharma, can I see you?
हाँ जी मैम, थैंक यू मैम। आवाज आ रही है मैम मेरी?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Will you please turn on your camera? आपकी आवाज आ रही है, ma'am.
ओके मैम।
You are requested to please turn on your camera. Good afternoon, ma'am.
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम। स्टार्ट करूं मैम?
Yes, ma'am. Please, you may begin.
ओके ठीक है। सभी को नमस्ते। मेरा टॉपिक है नई शिक्षा नीति 2020 अध्यापक शिक्षा एवं डिजिटल शिक्षा। एजुकेशन की अगर हम बात करें तो शिक्षा एक ऐसा साधन है जिसके सहारे व्यक्ति और समाज में चेतना जागृत कर उनकी कार्य क्षमता में वृद्धि की जा सकती है। और हम सभी जानते हैं कि शैक्षिक अवसरों की समानता मानवीय दृष्टिकोण से बहुत जरूरी है, बहुत आवश्यक है। इसीलिए भारत की प्रजातांत्रिक व्यवस्थाओं में सबसे ज्यादा विकास युक्त नागरिकों को तैयार करने का जो दायित्व है वो विद्यालयों को सौंपा गया है। इसलिए कहा जा सकता है कि विद्यालयों की कक्षाओं में भावी नागरिकों का विकास होता है, जिसमें कि टीचर्स की जो भूमिका है, रोल है, वो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है। इसीलिए हम देखते हैं कि बालक के उचित विकास के लिए कुशल अध्यापकों को तैयार करना बहुत जरूरी है। और इसीलिए नई शिक्षा नीति जो है, हमारी न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी है, उसके अंदर कहा गया है कि शिक्षा पूर्ण मानव क्षमता को प्राप्त करने एवं न्याय संगत और न्यायपूर्ण समाज के विकास और राष्ट्रीय विकास को बढ़ावा देने के लिए मूलभूत आवश्यकता है। किसी भी राष्ट्र की प्रगति उसके अध्यापकों की गुणवत्ता पर निर्भर करती है, और अध्यापकों ही सुचारू रूप से विद्यार्थियों को अधिगम के लिए जिज्ञासु बनाता है और उन्हें वांछित लक्ष्यों की ओर अग्रसर करता है। इसके लिए
मैम क्षमा चाहती हूँ मैं आपसे आपसे अनुरोध है कि आप कैमरा टर्न ऑन कीजिए।
ओके ओके ठीक है मैम।
और दूसरा, आप अपना स्क्रीन भी शेयर कर सकते हैं।
ओके मैम, ओके।
आप स्क्रीन शेयर, हाँ जी,
स्क्रीन शेयर करना जरूरी है। एक मिनट कर रही हूँ मैम।
मैम आपसे अनुरोध है कि आप बस कैमरा टर्न ऑन करके, हेलो मैम, एम आई ऑडिबल?
हाँ मैम, हाँ
मैम आप अपना प्लीज कैमरा टर्न ऑन करके अपना प्रेजेंटेशन दे सकते हैं।
ओके मैम, ओके।
If you find any difficulty in sharing the screen, you may simply turn on your camera and present your paper. Okay, ma'am?
ओके मैम, ओके।
Yes, ma'am, it's fine now. Please share.
ओके ओके। अध्यापक शिक्षा समग्र शैक्षिक व्यवस्था का महत्वपूर्ण भाग है। अध्यापक शिक्षा से तात्पर्य शिक्षकों की व्यावसायिक तैयारी से है। इसलिए अध्यापक शिक्षा कार्यक्रम की एक व्यावसायिक कार्यक्रम के रूप में पहचान की गई है। इस रूप में इसकी विषय वस्तु एवं प्रक्रिया किसी भी अन्य अकादमिक कार्यक्रम से भिन्न है। प्रत्येक व्यावसायिक शिक्षा के भांति अध्यापन व्यवसाय में शिक्षकों को अनेकाविध भूमिकाओं का निर्वहन करना होता है। इन भूमिकाओं के वास्तविक कार्य क्षेत्र में सफल संचालन हेतु अध्यापक शिक्षा कार्यक्रम द्वारा इस क्षेत्र के विशिष्ट घटकों प्रक्रियाओं के प्रति स्पष्ट अवबोध, क्रियाओं के संचालन हेतु तकनीकी दक्षता तथा कार्य को आरंभ करने और जारी रखने हेतु आवश्यक गुणों का विकास किया जाता है। इस प्रकार हम सब जानते हैं कि व्यावसायिक के रूप में शिक्षक तैयार करने का महत्वपूर्ण दायित्व जो है वो अध्यापक शिक्षा कार्यक्रम का है। इस संदर्भ में सेवा पूर्व अथवा सेवाकालीन प्रयासों द्वारा शिक्षक को एक सफल व्यावसायिक बनाया जाता है। शिक्षक बनने वाला व्यक्ति पूर्ण परिपक्व होता है। यदि अध्यापक शिक्षा कार्यक्रम पर विचार करें तो प्रश्न है कि इसका स्वरूप वास्तव में क्या हो। यदि अध्यापक शिक्षा में किसी नवाचार अथवा विकास की बात करें तब सर्वप्रथम आवश्यकता है कि हम शिक्षक अध्यापकों को किंचित परंपरावादी और संकीर्ण विचारों के दायरे से मुक्त होकर अपने चिंतन मनन को व्यापक एवं खुली दिशा की ओर ले जाना होगा। तभी हम अपने विद्यार्थियों को चौक और टॉक के संबल से मुक्त कर पाएंगे। अब इसी आधार पे हम बात करें न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी की, तो राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा का विजन भारतीय मूल्यों से विकसित शिक्षा प्रणाली है, जो सभी को उच्चतर गुणवत्ता शिक्षा उपलब्ध करा के और भारत को एक जीवंत तथा न्याय संगत ज्ञान महाशक्ति बनाकर देश को एक जीवंत एवं ज्ञान युक्त समाज में बदलने के लिए प्रत्यक्ष रूप से योगदान करेगी। नई शिक्षा नीति में परिकल्पित है कि हमारे संस्थानों की पाठ्यचर्या और शिक्षा विधि छात्रों में अपने मौलिक दायित्व और संवैधानिक मूल्यों, देश के साथ जुड़ाव और बदलते विश्व में नागरिक की भूमिका और उत्तरदायित्व की जागरूकता उत्पन्न करे। यह नीति वर्तमान की 10+2 वाली स्कूल व्यवस्था को उसे 18 वर्ष के सभी बच्चों के लिए पाठ्यचर्या और शिक्षण शास्त्रीय आधार पर 5+3+3+4 को एक नई व्यवस्था में पुनर्गठित करने की बात करती है। इस प्रकार नई शिक्षा नीति 2020 प्रत्येक शिक्षा में गुणात्मक सुधार और नवाचार को बढ़ावा देने की बात करती है। इसके अंतर्गत शिक्षकों को इसके लिए तैयार करने के लिए विभिन्न प्रकार के प्रशिक्षण देने की बात भी कही गई है। इस हेतु शिक्षकों के लिए सतत व्यावसायिक विकास CPD की व्यवस्था की गई है। नई शिक्षा नीति में कहा गया है कि शिक्षक को स्वयं में सुधार करने के लिए आधुनिक विचार और नवाचार को सीखने के लिए सतत अवसर दिए जाएंगे। इन्हें स्थानीय, क्षेत्रीय, राज्य स्तरीय, राष्ट्रीय और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय कार्यशालाओं के साथ साथ ऑनलाइन शिक्षण विकास मॉडल के रूप में पेश किया जाएगा तथा उपयुक्त प्लेटफॉर्म, विशेष रूप से ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म विकसित किए जाएंगे। प्रत्येक शिक्षक से अपेक्षित है कि वह प्रतिवर्ष 50 घंटे के CPD कार्यक्रम में भाग ले। इस प्रकार नई शिक्षा नीति प्रत्येक शिक्षक में गुणात्मक सुधार एवं नवाचार को बढ़ावा देने की बात करती है। इस नीति को ऐसे समय में तैयार किया गया है जब हम बात करें कृत्रिम बुद्धिमत्ता यानी कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस जैसे निश्चित परिवर्तनकारी प्रौद्योगिकी का विकास हो रहा है। नई शिक्षा नीति जो है उसमें ऑनलाइन डिजिटल शिक्षा की बात भी कही गई है। प्रौद्योगिकी का न्याय सम्मत उपयोग सुनिश्चित करने की बात की गई है। नई परिस्थितियों और वास्तविकताओं की पहल अपेक्षित है। संक्रामक रोगों और वैश्विक महामारियों में हाल ही में वृद्धि को देखते हुए यह जरूरी हो गया है कि जब भी और जहां भी शिक्षा की पारंपरिक और विशेष साधन हमें ये लगता है कि वो पर्याप्त नहीं है, वहां पर हमें वैकल्पिक साधनों के साथ तैयार हो। इस संबंध में नई शिक्षा नीति 2020 जो है वो प्रौद्योगिकी की संभावित चुनौतियों को स्वीकार करते हुए उससे मिलने वाले लाभों के महत्व पर केंद्रित है। यह निर्धारित करने के लिए कि ऑनलाइन डिजिटल शिक्षा की हानियों को कम करते हुए हम कैसे इससे लाभ उठा सकते हैं, सभी को गुणवत्तापूर्ण शिक्षा प्रदान करने से संबंधित वर्तमान और भावी चुनौतियों का सामना करने के लिए मौजूदा डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म और क्रियान्वित ICT पहलुओं को और अनुकूल और विस्तृत करना होगा। प्रभावशाली ऑनलाइन प्रशिक्षक बनने के लिए शिक्षकों को उपयुक्त प्रशिक्षण और विकास चाहिए। रोजगार और वैश्विक परिस्थितियों कि में तीव्र गति से आ रहे परिवर्तनों की वजह से यह जरूरी हो गया है कि बच्चों को जो कुछ सिखाया जा रहा है उससे तो सीखे ही, साथ ही वे सतत सीखने की कला भी सीखे। एक अच्छी शिक्षण संस्था वह है जिसमें प्रत्येक छात्र का स्वागत किया जाता है और उसकी देखभाल भी की जाती है, जहां एक सुरक्षित और प्रेरणादायक शिक्षण वातावरण मौजूद होता है, जहां सभी छात्रों को सीखने के लिए अच्छे बुनियादी ढांचे और उपयुक्त संसाधन उपलब्ध हो। राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति की इन सभी बातों पर हम बात करें तो बनस्ली विद्यापीठ पूरी तरह से खरा उतरा है। वर्तमान संदर्भ में कोविड-19 के चलते इस लॉकडाउन में कई विद्यालयों एवं महाविद्यालयों ने पिछले कुछ समय से ऑनलाइन अध्ययन की प्रक्रिया को अपनाकर इसे अधिक उपयोग में लाए हैं गया है। कोरोना वायरस महामारी ने भारतीय शिक्षा प्रणाली को बिल्कुल बदल दिया है। ऑफलाइन शिक्षा का स्थान ऑनलाइन शिक्षा ने ले लिया। ऑनलाइन शिक्षा के कई फायदे हैं तो वहीं इस शिक्षा प्रणाली में कई चुनौतियां भी है, क्योंकि शिक्षक और विद्यार्थी दोनों ही इसके लिए पूर्ण रूप से तैयार नहीं है। ऐसे में विद्यार्थियों के साथ साथ शिक्षकों के लिए उच्च गुणवत्तापूर्ण ऑनलाइन पढ़ाई एक चुनौती है। ऑनलाइन शिक्षण के लिए अति आवश्यक है कि शिक्षक सत्र को निर्बाध रूप से संचालित करने के लिए छात्रों के लिए एक खाका जो है, एक ड्राफ्ट जो है वो तैयार किया जाए, जिससे कि शिक्षण की गति को पाठ्यक्रम के साथ जोड़ा जाए। शिक्षक के लिए आवश्यक है कि संरचित दृष्टिकोण में सत्र के लिए एक एजेंडा निर्धारित करे एवं यह सुनिश्चित करे कि छात्रों को जो पढ़ाया जाना है उसके लिए पहले से ही तैयारी की जाए। सतत मूल्यांकन के लिए भी अलग से खाका बनाया जाए, जिसके लिए कक्षा में सत्र बिना किसी रुकावट एवं बाधा के चलता रहे। कोविड-19 के दौरान ऑनलाइन शिक्षा एक ऐसी चुनौती के तौर पर सामने आई जिसके लिए देश के अधिकांश शिक्षक एवं शैक्षिक संस्थान तैयार नहीं थे। कई शिक्षक ऐसे भी थे जिनका कंप्यूटर के साथ ये जूम, गूगल मीट जैसे सॉफ्टवेयर से कोई संबंध नहीं था, किंतु विद्यार्थियों के भविष्य के लिए शिक्षकों ने इस चुनौती को भी स्वीकार किया एवं नई तकनीकी से जुड़ने के लिए जो है वो कड़ी मेहनत की, और नतीजा यह रहा कि शिक्षक कंप्यूटर व लैपटॉप चलाने से डरते थे, वो आज इतने प्रशिक्षित हो गए कि ऑनलाइन माध्यम से विद्यार्थियों को पढ़ा रहे हैं। विद्यार्थियों तक ऑनलाइन शिक्षा ऐसे ही नहीं पहुंची है, इसके पीछे गुरुजनों का बहुत बड़ा त्याग रहा है। पहले शिक्षक ने स्वयं सीखा और फिर ऑनलाइन शिक्षा से विद्यार्थियों को जोड़ा। कई वर्षों से विद्यार्थी जो व्हाइट बोर्ड के सामने खड़ा होकर पढ़ा रहे थे, लेकिन अचानक कोरोना की वजह से जहां एक ओर तो संक्रमण के खतरे से आशंकित थे, वहीं दूसरी ओर शिक्षा संचालन के लिए ऑनलाइन शिक्षा प्रणाली को अपनाने पर जोर था। चुनौती जो है वो निश्चित रूप से बड़ी थी, लेकिन शिक्षकों को अपने कर्तव्य को भी निभाना था। ऑनलाइन शिक्षा की ट्रेनिंग बहुत जरूरी थी, इसलिए हमारे संस्थान द्वारा ऑनलाइन कार्यों में दक्ष व्यक्तियों द्वारा शिक्षकों को बार बार ट्रेनिंग दी गई। साथ ही सभी विभागों में टेक्निकल जो थे हेल्पर, उनको रखा गया। ऑनलाइन कक्षाओं के दौरान शिक्षकों को तकनीकी सहायता प्रदान करते थे वो लोग, और साथ ही में शिक्षकगण भी तकनीकी चीजों को सीखने सिखाने में एक दूसरे की मदद करते थे। इस तरीके से सेशन जो है वो बिना किसी देरी और बाधा के समय से शुरू हुआ। इसके लिए हम शिक्षकों को जो है वो गूगल क्लासरूम के जरिए गूगल क्लासरूम बनाए गए, जिनमें बच्चों को जोड़ा गया। गूगल मीट के जरिए बच्चों की कक्षाएं शुरू की गई। गूगल मीट के थ्रू जो है वो बच्चों की कक्षाएं शुरू की गई। प्रतिदिन की कक्षा के लिए टॉपिक जो है वो एक उसके लिए वीडियो बनाया जाता था। कक्षा में पहले विद्यार्थियों को वीडियो दिखाया जाता था, उसके बाद टीचर और स्टूडेंट्स जो है उनके बीच में इंटरेक्शन होता था। इस प्रकार विद्यार्थियों के भविष्य के लिए शिक्षकों ने इन चुनौतियों को स्वीकार किया और तकनीकी से जुड़ने के लिए कड़ी मेहनत की, और नतीजा यह रहा कि जो शिक्षक कंप्यूटर एवं लैपटॉप चलाने से डरते थे, आज वो इतने प्रशिक्षित हो गए कि ऑनलाइन शिक्षा के माध्यम से विद्यार्थियों को पढ़ा रहे हैं। कड़ी मेहनत का परिणाम है कि इतने बेहतर रूप से ऑफलाइन शिक्षण प्रक्रिया चल रही है और उतनी ही कुशलता पूर्वक ऑनलाइन शिक्षण प्रक्रिया भी चल रही है। इस प्रकार कोविड लॉकडाउन की तरह शिक्षकों को काफी मुश्किल का सामना करना पड़ा, पर ऑनलाइन शिक्षण प्रक्रिया ने लॉकडाउन में चल रही इस मुश्किल को आसान कर दिया। तो कंक्लूजन के तौर पे हम ये कह सकते हैं कि वर्तमान के शिक्षार्थी अध्यापक भावी शिक्षक है, और अपने शिक्षक के ज्ञाता होने पर भी अच्छे संप्रेषक वो तभी बन सकते हैं जब उनमें आत्मविश्वास और समूह का सामना करने का गुण भी हो, तथा कक्ष में तकनीकी उपकरण उसको पहल के शब्द विद्यमानों की इस दौर की मूलभूत आवश्यकता है। आज के टाइम की अगर हम बात करें तो जो बात न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में कही गई है वो ही बात जो है वो बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि जो सिचुएशन हमारे सामने आई है अभी, उसके अंदर ये जरूरी हो गया है कि जो टीचर है उनको डिजिटल एजुकेशन जो है उससे जोड़ना बहुत जरूरी है। थैंक यू।
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And you are requested to please stay here to get the constructive feedback from the honorable chairperson of the session. You are requested to please be here. आपसे अनुरोध है कि आप कृपया यहीं पर रहें, मैम आपको फीडबैक देंगे। Now I take the opportunity to call Ms. Pallavi Khanna, Research Scholar, Department of Economics, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi, to present her paper on critical assessment of challenges in higher education in India in context of NEP 2020 and during the COVID-19 crisis. You are requested to please put it on F5 mode. Ms. Pallavi, are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
So you are please requested to show the full screen. Yes.
Ma'am, is the PPT visible to you?
It's visible. If please make it on the slideshow mode.
Okay. Ma'am, it's on the full screen right now.
आप प्लीज F5 प्रेस कीजिए अपने लैपटॉप में F5 you will get full screen.
Yes. And I have pressed F5 now. It's visible. And should I start?
Yes, you may please begin.
Okay, thank you so much. Respected professors, dear participants, good afternoon to one and all present in the one-day National Conference on National Education Policy 2020, an amalgamation of tradition and modernity.
Pallavi
I
ma'am,
am Pallavi Khanna. Yes,
Pallavi ma'am,
ma'am.
very sorry to interrupt. Please turn on your camera. Turn on your camera, please. And now you may please begin. Thank you so much.
Respected professors, dear participants, good afternoon to one and all present in the one-day National Conference on National Education Policy 2020, an amalgamation of tradition and modernity. I am Pallavi Khanna, research scholar at Department of Economics, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Before presenting my study, I would like to congratulate Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Leelavati Munshi College of Education in association with Indian Institute of Advanced Study for this conference. The title of my study is a critical assessment of challenges of higher education in India in context of National Education Policy 2020 and during the 1920 crisis. As we know that the recent outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic imposes several disruptions in the educational attainment among the students at all the levels. The introduction of online mode of learning during the pandemic has imparted serious challenges and impediment on those aspiring higher education with a limited digital facilitation and technical amenities. The Ministry of Human Resource Development, now known as the Ministry of Education, in the midst of the global pandemic, unveiled a new education policy as to promote the education among the citizens of India. This policy covers the entire education sector, extending from the preschool to colleges in both the rural and the urban areas. The federal government has time to time revealed the flagship policies on education. The first one was disseminated in the year 1968 under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi. The second one in 1986 by the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. After more than a decade of 34 years now, the third policy under the governance of Honorable Shri Narendra Modi ji was announced in July 2020, which aims to bring the regulation in education, keeping learners at the center. The National Education Policy 2020 was built on the recommendation from the various commissions and committees and reforms undertaken previously, which includes Kothari Commission, National Education Policies 1986, National Education Policy 1986, its revised version 1990. Right of children to the free and compulsory education 2009. The NEP is a big step in the right direction as it emphasizes on the holistic development of students by ensuring access, equity, quality, and strong learning foundation.
Miss Pallavi, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Please request you to change your slides also intermittently.
Ma'am, that was the first slide only. Now I have changed. That was the first slide only. I was introducing the first slide only.
Okay, fine. And screen is again not full. We can see your other
Okay,
slides.
ma'am, I don't know. I guess there is some technical glitch. I don't know, but I have pressed F5 also, and I have used other options also, but it is not happening. I don't know why.
Okay, then one more thing. Turn on your camera.
Ma'am, I have done both, but I don't know why it's not happening. I have just pressed F5 many times, and over here on my screen, it is showing full screen, but I don't know why it's not visible there.
Okay. Then please go ahead.
I may try again. Ma'am, now it's visible.
It's not the full screen. You simply have to press F5. It will be visible.
Ma'am, I have pressed F5.
Okay, Shift plus F5 if possible. Shift plus F5.
Ma'am, again I have pressed and the same thing. It is showing as a full screen in my laptop, but I don't know whether it is visible to you or not. But I pressed F5 and I have used Shift plus F5. Again, it is not working. I don't know why.
Okay, please. Now you may please begin.
Okay. Thank you so much. So the NEP 2020 has a numerous takeaway for the stakeholders that has been ratified that includes the 5+3+3+4 structure in the school education structure that incorporates the early childhood care and education, adequate resourcing, providing food and nutrition, introduction of vocational education at the lower and the higher secondary education, and all the levels of the education. Moreover, the number of the initiatives has been proposed for the higher education too, which include the multidisciplinary education, introduction of vocational education, equity and inclusion in the higher education, single regulatory body for the entire education sector. This include for the medical and the legal section. Then we have digital education, institutional restructuring and the consolidation, motivated and energized and capable faculty, then teacher education, and many more. The objective of the present study is to highlight the key aspects of higher education in India in context of the National Education Policy 2020, to study the major challenges in the attainment of higher education among the young population in India. For the present study, we have particularly referred to the age group that is 17 to 29 years. For the present study, data has been extracted from the National Sample Survey 71st around India. The study particularly focuses on the particular age group that is 17 to 19 years. The study has interviewed a total of 39,023 students, which age between 70 to 29 years across India. Then the study aims to hypothesize that the poor digital accessibility and know-how reduces the likelihood of attaining the higher education. For the purpose of data analysis, we have used the multivariate logistic regression. We have used the software data for conducting our data analysis. So before going ahead with the discussion on the results, let me have an overview of the national education in context of that. As we know that the national education policy focuses on two segments, that is the school education and the higher education. But for the present study, we have focused only on the higher education. So we'll have an overview of what what national education policy has to say on the higher education. Higher education in India is facing a myriad of challenges from a long period of time, which include a severely segmented higher educational ecosystem, lack of access, especially in the backward area, lesser emphasis on research and innovation, an ineffective regulatory system, lack of emphasis on development of cognitive skills and learning outcome, limited teacher and institutional autonomy. To accelerate the growth of Indian education system, recently introduced National Education 20 Policy 2020 engages an education system that will play a vital role in fostering the societal welfare and in developing India as a democratic society. Now, what are the major focuses of the higher education? These include multidisciplinary education first, then the national education policy aims to increase the gross enrollment ratio from the current level of 25% to 15% by the year 2035. Then we have emphasis on teacher education, vocational education, professional education, adult education, catalyzing quality academic research, one regulatory body for the entire education sector, excluding the medical and the legal section, promotion of Indian languages. Then we have emphasis as the COVID-19 has emphasized the digital education and online education. It emphasized the need for both these two. Then we have financing of education and internalization also. No doubt these reforms have enormous scope to revitalize the education system, but the implementation of these reforms is still an issue. In this background, the present study aims to investigate the issues and challenges related to higher education in India. So the following table shows the demographic profile of the respondent. We have collected the data. We have used the National Sample Survey 71st round to collect the data for an analysis. The study encompasses the extent of attainment of among the students of age group 17 to 29 years, and these are the study has undertaken 39,023 students. And the table depicts that among the respondents, 51.36% of the students are male and the rest are female. Among half of the respondent out of the total, they are unmarried or currently married during the time of the survey. Most of the respondents belong to the other backward classes. The religious practices of the respondent are majorly Hinduism. Then we have merely 17.83% of the respondents have attended the higher education, that is above the higher secondary education. Most of the respondents belongs to the category where they have attained the level of education which is less than the higher secondary. Then majority of the respondents have undertaken for the belong to the rural areas. It is very surprising that most of the students belong to the rural areas. In the rural areas, most of the respondents found to be employed in the agricultural activity as their principal occupation. In the urban areas, most of the respondents are self-employed. Now, the exogenous variables undertaken for the study that mentioned in the table are significantly impacting the dependent variable, that is their access to the higher education. Respondents from the urban areas are more likely to attain the higher education than the rural counterparts. Similarly, respondents from the general caste are more likely to attain the higher education compared to the other castes, that is SC, ST, and OBCs. Now, estimated coefficients reveals that female are more likely to attain the higher education compared to female. Income is considered as a proxy of the monthly consumption expenditure. Respondent having an income level of less than 10,000 are likely to attain the higher education. Respondent possessing computer and internet accession is more likely to attain the higher education. We can also see the data where I have analyzed that the number of the respondents who have access to the computer availability, internet facility, and ability to compute. They have used different parameters to analyze the same. So, respondent with an ability of operating computer and typing word in the searching information in internet, sending emails are found to more likely to pursue the higher education. The study also reveals that the main impediment behind not attaining the engagement in the economic activity, financial constraint for males, and engagement in domestic activities and marriages are the one of the important reasons for the females for not attaining these. These are the some of the other reasons also why the male and the females are not attaining the higher education. And for the female, it is fine that for due to the marriage they are unable to attain the higher education. Then we have the reason for why they are not attending the higher education only for particularly for the males, that is due to the non-availability of the female teacher, non-availability of girls toilet, and the marriages. And if you can see that marriages contains the highest percentage, that is 98.7%, why they are not attaining the higher education. So, based on the finding of the studies, it can be concluded that National Education Policy 2020, which will replace the existing National Policy on Education 1986, is a trailblazing document that will reshape the entire education sector in the country. The policy put the India on the track to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 4 of the 2030 Agenda for the Sustainable Development by highlighting the inclusive, equitable, and quality education that would promote the lifelong learning opportunities for all. With the right implementation, this policy would help mold a new India and emerging hub for the global education, where the youth are empowered with the right knowledge and the skill set to succeed in the dynamic marketplace. In sum up, there is a need for an effective implementation of the policy through a proper roadmap to withstand the challenges of higher education in India. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pallavi Khanna. You are requested to please stay here to get your feedback.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I once again take the opportunity to call Mr. Majaz M. Siddiqui, who is a PhD scholar at Department of Educational Studies, DES, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Can I hear you, sir? He's not available. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much to all of you for your wonderful presentations. Now, we are going to take the session ahead.
The answers are all out there. We just need to ask the right question. Now, the stage is open for the question answer session for students to ask their doubts and queries to the respected presenter. Hello, so my question is for okay. So my question is for Miss Ankita Dhakre. She is there. Miss Ankita.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my question is for you. As NP suggests that by 2025, more than 50% of students will be vocationally eligible. Okay, as it is there. So my question is that in your presentation also you have mentioned that teachers' values and traditions are mattered. Like it is a main sole thing. Or is there any precautions? Sorry, is there any measures कि वहाँ पे teacher training के teachers training में हम लोग कोई change देख सकते हैं क्या? I as in जैसे NEP को आए हुए 2 साल हो चुके हैं already, as in going on 2022 and being a pupil teacher, we do not see कि vocational हमें कुछ training दिया जा रहा है कि हम बच्चों को vocation train करें, right? तो are there in क्यों और अगर ऐसा कुछ measure है भी तो उसको इंश्योर कैसे करेंगे कि वो फंक्शन अच्छे से कर रहा है और उसकी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन अच्छे से है, बिकॉज वोकेशन एजुकेशन इज एक्चुअली वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द फ्यूचर ऑफ द चाइल्ड. Is my question clear to you?
Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
For this, I would like to say that by now there is no such measure which is being followed in pre-teacher training programs like B.Ed. Here we are mainly being focused on. So for this, we have been provided with experiential learning. New subject has been added in B.Ed curriculum, that is experiential learning, which is mainly based on hands-on learning. So इसमें mainly अभी teachers को ways सिखाए जा रहे हैं कि बच्चों को हम कैसे पढ़ाएंगे, कि किसी भी चीज को अगर हम पढ़ाना है, उनको एक्सप्लेन करना है, तो उनको मतलब वही चीज को हम एक्सपीरियंस करा के या फिर हैंड्स ऑन उनको करा के चीजों को इजी वे में उनको एक्सप्लेन कर सकें. ये एक वे है, मतलब इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया है हमको. और अगर हम बात करें वोकेशनल एजुकेशन की, उसके लिए तो भी एज सच कोई मेजर नहीं लिया गया है.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My question is for Ms. Vandana Sharma, that is she considered एक तरीके से डिजिटल एजुकेशन वरदान साबित हुआ है या फिर एक तरीके का अभिशाप? आप इस बारे में क्या कहना चाहेंगे? Ma'am, are you able to hear me?
Miss Vandana, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to all the presenters. My question is to Ms. Pallavi Khanna. Ma'am, am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Right. Ma'am, you discussed about the challenges, critically analyze the challenges, right? So I want to ask you that unless we change our assessment criteria for the students, how encouraged would the children and parents be, especially the parents, to participate in the vocational education? Because in the end, all we need, all parents and students need is the marks. So how can we encounter that?
Thank you so much for the question. As far as the reforms are confirmed, like you have talked about the assessment particularly, earlier we have seen that the education sector mainly focused on the formative assessment. Okay, now we are switching towards the more regular. We are conducting the unit tests and they have the summative reforms. They have moved to a different level. And the NEP 2020 has also focused on that. And the national education, if you talked about the vocational education particularly, they are focused on the that after the 6th class only, student must have that skill set to attain any job or enter into any job. If you know that after the secondary education only, student can enter into the world of work. So NEP 2020 has focused that by the year, I don't remember the year, but the year after the class 6 only, students should be trained. Any particular skill should be given to them. so that they would have that skills and they would be enter into the world with that skills only. So NEP 2020, there are some challenges, but if implemented effectively, if we'll first highlight the areas, what are the challenges they are facing, then NEP 2020 will like it will do a wonders for the students.
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much. The next question is for Ashok sir. Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So since you are discussing the various researches and initiatives in NEP 2020, so since NEP promotes ICT a lot, like digital education, and it should be accessible at each level of education. So do we consider it as a good thing or can be a curse? Because too much dependence on social media and digital platform can be challenging in young age students.
As of now, digital can be used as small children are using digital medias. So there should be some constructions for them to use it purposefully. So that we can create new types of apps that can be useful to them in order to focus on them on the education side alone, rather than focusing on some distractions along which can disrupt them. So by that I think we can usually use anything for advantageous purposes that can useful to the education purposes.
Thank you, sir. And I will thank every participant for answering the questions of our students. Taking the session forward, we all need people who will give us feedback as how can that will allow us to improve for future. So I request our chairperson for today's live session, Professor Manisha Dabas, Aditi Mahavidyalaya, University of Delhi, to provide us a valuable suggestion and feedback.
Thank you. Thank you for this. Before going for my feedback and comments, I must appreciate all paper presenters to giving their ideas, because when we present, only after that, we can be sure that whether I am making sense to audience or not. But for feedback to this session, I will go paper by paper. But before going into that, there are total 4 papers in this session. 2 papers were database and 2 were conceptual papers. So, जो database paper है for everyone, because all of you here sitting here in the audience and even the presenters. So for database papers, it is important that when we are making a presentation in a conference, especially when we are giving very short time, 10 minutes, 20, 15 minutes to present our entire research, instead of spending more time on context, you should spend more time on your own research. कि sample size क्या था, क्या कहाँ से मैंने कौन से ग्रुप के स्टूडेंट्स लिए, questions क्या थे, research questions क्या थे. Because when we are in a conference where there is one theme, we are all aware of that theme. So we are all prepared with that theme. So instead of spending more time on context, one should spend more time on your own research methodologies, including sample, procedure, your tools, and then findings. So in both the papers presented by Ms. Ankita and Ms. Mani, I found these details missing to some extent. Secondly, the other 2 papers were conceptual papers. So both the conceptual papers were basically discussing the key ideas of NEP 2020. So in a conference, it is expected to come up with some kind of research. So moving forward from that key idea, because policy has come in 2020, now it's 2 years already. So moving further for developing on those key ideas. So these are the general feedback for all 4 papers. Now I will be going by paper. I may be critical at some points, but you are all in learning phase, and if it is only after you make a mistake, you will do better. So for Ms. Ankita, I felt that you should have dealt with some basic questions like, is teaching a profession or vocation? Why are you linking teacher education to vocational education? So are you looking at, vocational education within the paradigm of teacher education, that how prospective teachers, why and how should be taught about vocational education? So that key question I found was missing. Then you also introduced the concept of multidisciplinary education, placing teacher education in multidisciplinary college. What do we mean by that? Are these B.Ed colleges like one, this BLM COE, is it a multidisciplinary college? How a B.Ed college is not multidisciplinary or multidisciplinary? So, focus on the basic questions so that you can come up with answers to those questions. Then moving further, in these 2 years, I have observed that, this trend of making a Google form and circulating to everyone and then coming up with responses saying that, Google form is doing all the analysis, coming up with pie charts, and you're saying that 90% is doing this, 50% is doing this, 20% is doing this. You made all 10 questions and, coming up with those pie charts which are already made by the software. So where is your mind? What are you trying to interpret from those questions is important. So when you frame a question and when you present in a conference like this, you should focus on that. Look, these are my questions. These are the responses from Google form. But you should go ahead and say that why. Why do, if you're saying that 90% are favoring 2-year B.Ed program, why? What are the reasons for that? So go ahead and move further and have an interview. Try to, all your researchers and will be doing research. So go into the qualitative details that why do you think 2 years B.Ed is better? Is it worth spending 2 years or it should be 4 years, not 2 years? Why? So, moving into further details, going into qualitative feedbacks, qualitative remarks, and that will enrich your data collected through your Google Forms. So then your research will move to a next level. So that will make more sense. And one last size, when sample size is clear, if I'm doing a research on 30 students, my sample size is 30, my sample size is 50, then what does 90%? What does 90% of 30 is only 27 students. So 27 students have responded. So what are your samples should be representative population of, representation of a population. So 30 is not a sufficient size to come up with, statements like this that 90% are preferring 2 years B.Ed. So if your sample size is in thousands, in 10,000, then 90% makes something. So coming to remarks like this much percent students, 50% said this, 20% said this, statements will be more meaningful if your sample size is large enough. So these are some key points for you, Ankita. Moving ahead with
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr.
Thank you, ma'am, for your feedback.
Mr. Ashok, you mentioned that you are presenting, your title was little misleading, I will say that. It said that NEP 2020 research challenges and challenges and initiatives. So in your objective, you mentioned that comparative, you are doing a comparative aspect, but in the entire paper, I somehow missed that what was the comparative aspect. These were only, you only presented key ideas. And I also found that, one of the key ideas presented by policy that colleges should be teaching oriented, colleges should be research focused. Policy clearly demarcated 2 kinds of colleges. One will be, in future there will be colleges which will be teaching oriented and other category will be research oriented. So that particular key point was also missing in your presentation. I was looking forward to that because how colleges focusing on teaching will be different from colleges focusing on research. So this key idea was missing. Other thing I mentioned comparative aspect was missing, and other thing which you have said that which you have mentioned as key highlights of your presentation. I will say that those were key ideas of the policy. So I would appreciate that if you go back to your paper and also now think that what are the advantages of academic bank of credit for a student, what are the disadvantages. As in one of your presentation, in one of your slides, you have said that moving from 4 years to 5 years is a challenge for students. So how in that context academic bank of credit will be helpful. So there is need to be deliberate more on those ideas, and after clarifying those ideas, you can interview your friends, your peer group, your students studying in colleges or students in school who will be coming to colleges, that what do they feel about it? Will it be helpful or will not be helpful? Why do they feel about it? What is the experts' take on it? Why are they advocating this academic bank of credit? So you can, I will appreciate that if you can take any one specific point and do a detailed in-depth analysis, and after that, you can speak to students, teachers, experts, and then come up with concrete ideas that look, these are the these will be benefits and these are the shortcomings. And for the policy, when we are in the stage right now, country is in the stage of designing curriculum. So if you can come up with some suggestions which such committees can look into it and enrich the courses, that will be helpful for students. So thank you, Mr. Ashok.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll be specific in future. Thank you.
Now coming to Ms. Vanna Sharma. आपका जो विषय था वो था अध्यापक शिक्षा और डिजिटल शिक्षा, तो उसमें कुछ की सवाल उठाने बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि पिछले 2 सालों में इस तरह की बहुत रिसर्च हुई है। अगर आप कोई भी जर्नल उठा के देखते हैं तो इस तरह की बहुत रिसर्च हुई है कि किस तरह के चैलेंजेस स्टूडेंट्स ने फेस किए इन 2 सालों में, टीचर्स ने किस तरह के चैलेंजेस फेस किए, और किस तरह से हमारी पूरी कंट्री जो थी वो अनप्रिपेयर्ड थी for such kind of, even the entire world was unprepared for such challenge, और हमने उसको कैसे कोप अप किया। बट अगर आप अपनी रिसर्च पेपर में इस तरह का डेटा डाल पाते कि क्या चैलेंजेस हमने फेस किए, और बहुत सारा डेटा इस तरह से अवेलेबल है जो ये बताता है, गवर्नमेंट का डेटा भी अवेलेबल है जो ये बताता है कि कितने % स्टूडेंट्स को एक्सेसिबिलिटी का चैलेंज था, कितने % स्टूडेंट्स को डिवाइस का चैलेंज था, इस तरह का डेटा भी है। बट moving to a next step, if we can look into the challenges faced by teachers, the teaching online is not same as teaching in a classroom, because हम सबने देखा कि ऑनलाइन में स्टूडेंट्स रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करते, कैमरा ऑन नहीं करते, जवाब नहीं देते, तो कैसे उन स्टूडेंट्स को हमें एंगेज कर सकते हैं। स्टूडेंट्स के जेन्युइन इश्यूज भी है। हमने खुद अपने इस तरह का रिसर्च हमने किया और हमने पाया कि मतलब ऐसे बच्चे ऐसी जगहों में है कि घर में नेटवर्क नहीं है, बाहर जाके वो डिवाइस है, घर में 3-4 बच्चे हैं और डिवाइस एक है, तो किस तरह से उन्होंने बांटा। बट ये सारे जो चैलेंजेस हैं ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के चैलेंजेस हैं। बट एक टीचर के लिए जो ज्यादा चैलेंज है वो पेडागोजिकल, कि मैं अपनी क्लास की पेडागोजी कैसे बनूं। मेरी इंटरेक्शन वैसे नहीं हो सकती जैसे मैं फिजिकल क्लासरूम में कर रही थी। क्लास में तो बिना सवाल पूछे मैं फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन से बता सकती हूँ ये इसको शायद समझ नहीं आया, इस बच्चे के फेस में कोई क्वेश्चन दिखता है और आप उनसे वो सवाल पूछते हो। बट जब डिजिटल उसमें स्टूडेंट का कैमरा ऑफ है और वो नाम लेने में भी कैमरा ऑन नहीं करता है या जवाब नहीं देता, तो हमें नहीं पता वो सुन रहा है नहीं सुन रहा है, उसको समझ आया कि नहीं आया। तो मुझे अपनी पेडागोजी कैसे बदलनी, दूसरा पेडागोजी बदलने के बाद मैं असेसमेंट के तरीके कैसे बदलूं। असेसमेंट तो वैसा नहीं हो सकता जैसा हम ऑफलाइन में कर रहे थे, पेपर पेंसिल टेस्ट तो नहीं हो सकता, तो असेसमेंट के तरीके कैसे बदलने होंगे, किस तरह से ऑनलाइन में जो असेसमेंट है वो फॉर्मेटिव और कॉन्टिन्यूअस हो सकती है। एंड स्पेशली व्हेन Now, when we are talking of learning gap after 2 years of COVID, so I will not only say that digital education has improved education, no. So उस चीज के बारे में भी सोचना बहुत जरूरी है. आप किसी भी स्कूल के टीचर से बात करके देखिए और आपको वो टीचर्स बताएंगे कि कितना गैप उन्हें मिल रहा है कि जो बच्चा 9th में है उसको 7th का कंटेंट के साथ भी टीचर को स्ट्रगल करना पड़ रहा है. 8th का कंटेंट उसको क्लियर नहीं है तो 9th किस तरह से बिल्डअप करे. तो आज जो रिसर्च पब्लिश हो रही है वो लर्निंग गैप के लिए भी हो रही है कि किस तरह का लर्निंग गैप है. Abhi, there was a research done internationally and they have found that in Europe, the learning gap is of on an average is of 8 months. They were saying that the learning gap in children till the age group of 14, the learning gap is of 8 months. तो इस तरह की क्या इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में स्टडी अवेलेबल है, बच्चों को कितना लर्निंग गैप है, वो चीजें समझने की जरूरत है. डिजिटल एजुकेशन में हमें ये भी समझने की जरूरत है कि एक्चुअली डिजिटल एजुकेशन क्या है. क्या डिजिटल एजुकेशन क्या सिर्फ गूगल मीट से क्लास लेना है या उससे कुछ आगे है. प्लेटफॉर्म्स क्या होते हैं, वेबसाइट क्या है, क्या क्या कोई टीचर अपना वेबसाइट बना सकता है, वो किस तरह से स्टूडेंट के लिए हेल्पफुल होगा. तो ये सारे एस्पेक्ट्स भी इसमें करने की जरूरत है. सिर्फ एक गूगल मीट का लिंक जनरेट करना और क्लास करना is not digital education. One need to think about it critically and move ahead and come up for the research, because आप ही लोग हो जो आगे आने वाले इस समय में रिसर्च कर रहे हो. तो अगर आप इस तरह का डेटा नहीं एकत्रित करोगे तो कैसे उस पे हम कोई पॉलिसी या कोई और डॉक्यूमेंट बना सकते हैं. जब हम वैसे तो बहुत कहते हैं कि बहुत नुकसान किया डिजिटल एजुकेशन ने. अभी एक स्कूल ने पूछा भी कि डिजिटल एजुकेशन अभिशाप है कि वरदान है. तो हम वैसे कई बार ये कहते हैं कि इस तरह का नुकसान किया, पर वहीं पर बहुत जगह फायदा भी किया. जिस तरह के एनसीईआरटी का हर क्लास के लिए एक अलग चैनल है, पर उस तरह की एक अवेयरनेस बिल्ड करना कि पेरेंट्स को पता हो कि अगर आपके पास टेलीविजन भी है तो एनसीईआरटी का एक चैनल है जिसमें आप देख सकते हो. तो उसको देखने के बाद अगर टीचर ने सिर्फ वही देखा और उसी पे स्टूडेंट्स ने वही देखा और उस पर डिस्कशन किया, तो हम किस तरह से फिजिकल एब्सेंस का भी हम उससे जो नुकसान हो रहा है हम उसको पूरा करने की कोशिश कर सकते हैं. This was for Miss Vanna Sharma and Miss Pallavi Khanna. I will say that although you mentioned that your respondents were more from rural background, more from rural background, but एक तो I will say that आपकी जो स्लाइड थी वो मूव नहीं कर रही थी. तो पीपीटी जो थी वो सिर्फ फर्स्ट स्लाइड पे रुकी हुई थी, तो हमारे को वैसे नजर नहीं आ रहा था कि क्या सैंपल है, किस तरह के क्वेश्चंस हैं. दूसरा, शायद आपको 10 ही मिनट मिले थे तो आप बहुत जल्दी बोल रही थी, तो उससे एटलीस्ट मैं तो नहीं कैच कर पाई कि आपका साइज क्या है और किस तरह के सैंपल्स हैं. तो when you are making presentation in a online mode, make sure कि आपका कंप्यूटर हैंग ना हो इस तरह के ऑडियंस में, क्योंकि जब तक ऑडियंस उसके साथ नहीं इंटरैक्ट नहीं करता प्रेजेंटेशन एंड your what you are saying, it is difficult to make sense of it. पर एक जनरल रिमार्क मुझे लगा कि थोड़ा सा जो मैंने मिस अंकिता के लिए भी कहा, तो मुझे यही लगा कि थोड़ा सा इन डेप्थ जाने की जरूरत है कि क्यों ऐसा जवाब आ रहा है. सिर्फ इतने परसेंट ने ये कहा तक अगर हम रिसर्च को सीमित करेंगे तो हमारे जो कंक्लूजन्स हैं वो बहुत रिस्ट्रिक्टेड होंगे, बहुत लिमिटेड होंगे. तो वी नीड टू गो बियॉन्ड एंड थिंक व्हाई इज दिस हैपनिंग. And I am sure that with NEP 2020 in place and even before, the kind of teacher education programs you are hearing in this college and across nation also, in our learners we try to generate this curiosity that why something is happening. ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है, क्यों जवाब मिल रहा है, कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी, मेरी ऑब्जर्वेशन के कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी तो नहीं है. तो इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस को जब हम एक रिसर्च पैराडाइम में फिट करके करने की कोशिश करते हैं और सवालों के जवाब ढूंढते हैं, तो हम एक बेहतर कंक्लूजन पे आ सकते हैं और हमारी रिसर्च कुछ इस तरह के कंक्लूजन्स डिराइव कर सकती है जो फॉर द नेशन, फॉर द पॉलिसी, फॉर करिकुलम, फॉर पेडागोजी. थैंक यू. Thank you, Mr. So these are my comments for the presenters.
Thank you, ma'am, for your suggestions.
Thank you all for patience listening and for asking questions too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving us the guiding path. As we move towards the end of the interactive session, I would now like to invite our co-chairperson, Dr. Poonam Sharma, Assistant Professor, BNNCE, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Akshita Gandhar. The wonderful and elegant things in the world cannot be seen and touched. One among them is thank you, which must be felt and which must be felt with heart and soul. Tisro has rightly mentioned that gratitude is not only the greatest of all virtues, but it is a parent of all. Good afternoon, one and all present here. I, Dr. Poonam Sharma, Assistant Professor, BLNC, feel privileged to propose a vote of thanks to all the persons who have really contributed from their heart and soul to make this conference a resounding success. Firstly, on behalf of BLNC family, I express deep sense of gratitude to Professor Manisha Dabas, Aditi Mahavidyalaya, University of Delhi, New Delhi, for gracing us with her invaluable time. The time is really very precious nowadays, and ma'am has given her valuable time to us. So I extend my wholehearted thanks to you, ma'am, for giving your valuable time. Ma'am, I also assure you the family of BLNC is immensely encouraged and motivated by your gracious presence and got benefited by the enlightening views shared through your constructive feedback. I must say it was a individualized, customized feedback given to each and everyone. And I hope these scholars are going to be benefited a lot if they incorporate the changes suggested by you. Thank you so much for your valuable suggestion. Your words of wisdom radiated a source of energy within all of us and helped all the participants to expand their mental horizon towards NEP 2020. We all have a little good in ourselves. Sometimes we just a little push to put the good into action. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheels start rolling few months ago. We, the family of BLMC, is fortunate enough to have the invaluable contribution of research scholars and academicians for contributing or for presenting the thought-provoking research papers or conceptual papers on NEP 2020. So a big thanks to all of you. All the presenters, I extend my wholehearted thanks to you for giving such a nice presentation to all of us. My words are not sufficient to express my deepest sense of gratitude for your incessant and unconditional support. BLMC is also fortunate enough to be backed by a leader who has been highly dedicated, motivated, and of course, result-oriented. Our own principal, Dr. Geetika Datta. I extend a special thanks to her for her erudite guidance, encouragement, and her constant support. As no event can be successful with the effort of a single person, so I extend big thanks to all my colleagues for their valuable contribution. Now it's time to specifically thank a team who has been the backbone of this online event, our technical arrangements team, and our non-teaching staff who has been a great help in handling all kinds of issues. Last but not least, I mention my deepest sense of appreciation and would place on record my hearty thanks to all the student participants because of whom we made this conference possible and successful. So I really extend my deepest thanks to all of you with a round of applause. A big thanks to all the student comparators, members of various other committees who work backstage, who have participated overwhelmingly and made this event a great success. Thank you for embellishing and make the question answer session very thought-provoking. With folded hands, I once again express my deepest sense of gratitude to all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of you. अंत में बस एक शब्द मेरे को बहुत अच्छी लगी मैंने पंक्तियां जो मुझे लगता है कि आज हमें जरूर अपनानी चाहिए। न सोचे किसी ने क्या है पाया, न सोचे किसी ने क्या है पाया, मिला था क्या जब यहाँ वो आया। न सोचे कि पौधे हम जो लगाएं उनके फल बस हम ही खाएं। संपूर्ण ज्ञान का एक फल, संपूर्ण ज्ञान का एक फल हम सबको देना है विधाता, जिससे हमारे जीवन की जय हो। कुछ ऐसे सभ्य कर्म, कुछ ऐसे सभ्य कर्म हम सबको देना है दाता, जिससे शिक्षा जगत की जय हो, जिससे भारतीय शिक्षा जगत की जय हो। थैंक यू सो मच। शिक्षक दिवस की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं।
Thank you so much, ma'am. As firstly, I would like to thank everyone for joining and being a part of such an informative session. At the end, I would like to say, Alo Bhadra, Kartavya Yadhu Vishwatama, which means let the noble thought come to us from every side. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thank you so much for are requested to leave. Now we are going, all the participants are requested to leave, and those who are going to join from the technical session 4, they may join after half an hour. You all may please join after half an hour. Lunch is going on here. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.